Sometimes people think that the world is going to be taken over by robots, and I find it laughable because guess what? We're the ones that made them. So what can this teach us about us? Stay tuned, we're going to talk about that. We often hear that the mind is like a computer, and I would say that's 100% true. If you think about it, we have a hard drive, we have memory, and we have ways of accessing that memory. I happen to be someone who is in the profession of being able to read human code, and I want to teach you a little bit about accessing your own so that you can go into your hard drive and reprogram for the life that you want. So why would you want to do this? Is ignorance really blissful? Joseph Campbell said, if you can see the path, it's not yours. What? To me, that's like a huge dare. Of course, I don't want to be on anybody else's path, so I have to forge my own? That seems like unlikely and scary territory. But what we do know is that if we can go in and take out and replace, then you, my friend, are living a life of your own design. So let's get started. So what we know about the brain is that there is a mind-body-emotion connection and beyond that. And what it does is it creates the reality around us. So it's like that movie, Inside Out, where they had the emotions driving the kid. It's a kid's movie, but it's really profound in that that's exactly what's happening. And these emotions pop up and fire things off, and it's just sort of like all kind of happening unconsciously. This can really impact our quality of life. And I'll tell you what impacted me. A couple of years ago, I found myself in a bookstore, and there was a book that caught my eye. I walked over to it, being in the mood to learn something new, and what I learned blew my mind. Not in a good way, but don't worry, we'll put yours back together again. We have a bundle called the reticular formation in our brains, and in particular, the reticular activator is the one that blew my mind up. And what this does is it really helps us sense and perceive the world around us. Now, in its early days, it was used to keep us safe. This is how we would survive. This is where we get our fight or flight. This is where we get, hey, don't go over there. Last time someone went over there, they got eaten by a lion. Or, hey, last time the grass went like this, there was a cheetah that jumped out of it. So thank you. You've served your purpose, reticular activating system, but I'd like my brain back now so that I can make my own conscious decisions. So the good news is that we can actually reprogram that to focus on the things that we want. That's a whole host of things. But getting back to being like computers, let's go into the reading human code process. In order to read human code, you have to know where to find a bug. I like to call these access points. So first off, let's talk a little bit about blind spots. Those are fun. I call that the spinach in the teeth. It's like you're there talking with spinach in your teeth and everybody can see it but you, and nobody helps you out and says, hey, you got a little thing right there. They don't, unless you have a really good coach. The coach will point out your blind spots. What is a blind spot? Well, just like in a car or in that really great Sandra Bullock movie, the blind spot is an area of particular concern for safety that you cannot see, but everybody around you can see. An example of a blind spot would be something like, I know that I am 5 foot tall. I know that I am from Florida. I know that there's something called blind spots, and I love them. I also know that I have terrible handwriting. Thanks for bearing with me. I know that I don't know how to fly a plane. I'd like to someday. That would be really cool, actually. That doesn't scare me at all. That's fun. I know that I don't know how to really thoroughly cook a turkey, for real. Also something I would like to learn how to do. And I know where to figure these things out, right? Like I know that I don't know them and that I can go figure those things out. I know that I don't know Chinese. Now in this other section here is this realm of like the stuff that I don't really know that I don't know. And blind spots can live in here, like the spinach in your teeth. But it's like emotional spinach in your personality. So how do we access this part if we aren't really even aware. It's like if you've seen the movie Matrix, I remember being like, what? That took me from the zone of like just sitting there. I know going to a movie, I love Keanu Reeves, the whole thing. And then it was like, what is this movie about? I don't even know what this is talking about right now. I didn't know what I didn't know about this movie. So this area can be really exhilarating and really a huge access point for finding your programming. The other way I like to talk about blind spots is a little bit like that road runner, the one who runs off the cliff and doesn't realize that he's run off the cliff until he looks down and then sees that there's no ground, and that's when he falls. That's a little bit like not knowing what you don't know. All right, another access point can be in where your energy lies. So is something depleting your energy or giving you energy? For example, inauthenticity in this area is super draining. I've talked a little bit about the times in my life that I've burned out in my career, and it's because I was doing jobs that had me interfacing with people all day long and then also organizing gobs and gobs of data and information. Now, why did they think that I was good at this? Why did I keep getting jobs based on these things that were obviously, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know that I didn't know, but they weren't aligned with my natural flow of energy. But I can appear outgoing, but I'm really an introvert. I get my energy from being quiet and restoring and maybe learning about something. I also appear to be very organized because I had Post-it notes everywhere and like crazy spreadsheets. My coworkers would even laugh at me that I had spreadsheets that were of my spreadsheets. But I learned later on that I was overcompensating for the fact that I wasn't very organized, and so I appeared organized. Everybody kind of saw my efforts to be organized. So this inauthenticity, it looked like I was good at something, but the access point that I should have known is that my energy was always low. There was never enough that I could do to keep up. I was never at the end of my to-do list. I was always tired, and I was always working too many hours because it just wasn't in my natural flow. So that's an example of something that I thought was good, but it was depleting my energy. So when I accessed that through my access point of things that I'm good at, but not really in flow with, not really aligned with, that was a huge breakthrough for me. The third access point that I like to exercise a lot is the put yourself in a context, not put yourself in a box. Put yourself in a context. I have a great story to share this. So one of my clients really wants a tattoo, and she just doesn't feel like it's appropriate for her to have a tattoo. She's a mom, she has her own business. She just doesn't feel like she can walk around with a big tattooed thing on her arm, but she just, I don't know, she's just driven to it. It seems beautiful to her. So she thought about it for a while, and she did something really smart. She put herself into a context. And what this did is it pulled up some programming. And what she realized is that when she would wear the tattoo, it was a temporary tattoo. It was one of those that you just, put on like the little kids, but it looked like a real tattoo. And she noticed that as she would go about her daily life, it stayed on for about a week or so, that, when she would walk into a room and pull her sleeve down, or when she would roll it up, when she wanted to feel expressed, or when she felt like she had to kind of shrink and not be herself. That's an example of putting yourself inside of a context to see what shows up. There's some programming there that said, I can't be a mom and have a business of my own and have a tattoo. And of course, I know plenty of people who are all those things. So that's an area of deprogramming possibility. So all of this is very exciting. Why? Because even though what we see, think, feel, and our reticular activator and all of our programming from wherever is showing us the reality, we actually can unplug from all of that and really live the unscripted life of our own reality show. So I invite you to take some of these techniques and take a look at areas where you might be running some programs that are obsolete. You might need to upgrade a little bit, like from AOL to 5G, something like that. That's kind of what it's like. All right, well, good luck with all of that, and check the link below. Contact us if you have any questions. If you have a fire in your belly and you know that there's a better way to do things, then you're gonna love this. I have a free and very fun diagnostic tool that will help you discover where you can harness your power. If you've watched any of the other videos in this series on Michelle's channel, then you may have heard me talking about the 7 areas in one's life or in organizations where you can leak or harness power. This diagnostic tool will help you to know if you are in your highest flow. It's an easy tool that you'll get a lot of benefit from, and you can use over and over again. So head to the link down below to get calibrating. It has been a pleasure being here on Michelle's channel. She's the epitome of a great mentor and coach. So I hope you have enjoyed our time together. I know I certainly have. Good luck.